Okay, so today we're going to start something that we have not seen in grade 11, or you probably haven't seen. If you took the grade 11, you haven't seen something like this. So this is the new stuff that we learned in the grade 10, in the grade 12. So we're going to make connections between trig ratios of obtuse angles and their supplementary angles. So we're going to see what's the relation if I take cosine of 120 and cosine of 60. Okay? Why did I use 120 and 60? Why these specific ones? Or let's say if I do cosine of 100 and sine of 80. Because they both, if I add them, they equal to 180. Okay? So I'm using these examples because if I add 100 plus 80, that's going to give me 180. If I add 120 plus 60, that's going to give me 180. So I'm going to have to see the relationship between these ratios. So a supplementary angle, the definition for angles are angles that add up to make 180 degrees. Okay? So supplementary angles, if A and B are supplementary angles, that means if I add A and B, it's going to equal to 180 degrees. Okay? So, what's an acute angle? What's the definition of an acute angle? Sorry? Less than 90. So an acute angle is an angle that's less than 90 degrees. While an obtuse angle is between 90 and 180. Okay? So we're going to look at, if I have cosine, for example, 120. 120 is an acute or obtuse? Obtuse, because it's greater than 90, right? And if I have cosine of 60, 60 is obtuse or acute? Acute. What is the relationship, or what is the connection between these two? Okay? This is what we're going to investigate today. And it's not only 120 and 60. We're going to investigate all supplementary angles, no matter what it is, and their cosine, sine, and tan ratio. Okay? So, we're going to fill this table together. Okay? So, what I need you guys to do is I need you to find the answer for sine 20. And then we're going to write the answer to 4 decimal place. Okay, just 1 second. 0.3420. Okay, and then cosine 20. Okay, tan 20. Yeah, so 0.3640. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for sine 41. So sine 41 is 0.6561. Okay, you guys know how to find this on the calculator, right? So all what you have to do is press the sine 41, cosine 41 on the calculator. So 0.7547, and tan 41 is 0.8693. If I look at sine 88, I'm going to get 0.9994. And then cosine 88 is 0.0349. Tan 88. Are we okay with this so far? So we're going to look at sine 92, and sine 92 is 0.9994. Cosine 92 is negative, 0.0349. Is that right? And tan 92 is negative 28.6363. So, what do you notice so far? Anything that you have seen so far, you have noticed? Nothing yet? Should we keep going? The 88 and the 92, they have the same answer? But different signs. Okay. Okay. Let's keep going and let's see what happens later, okay? So I have sine 139. So sine 139 is 0.6561. And then cosine 139 is negative 0.7547. And tan 139 is negative 0.8693. Have we noticed anything else? So we have some negative answers, and what did you notice? 41 and 139, they have the same answer, but some of them are negative.
Yep.
All right.
The complementary angles have the same numbers.
The supplementary angles have the same numbers. Okay. So what do you think then 160 is going to be if I'm not going to use a calculator right now? It's going to be the same answer as the 20 degrees. Why? What's 160 plus 20? 180. So they are supplementary angles, right? If you think about 41 and 139, if I add 41 and 139, what do I get? 180. If I add 88 and 92, what do I get? 180. So if 88 and 92 end up having the same ratios, but some of them are negative because they're supplementary angles, 41 and 139 ended up having the same ratio, but some of them are negative, again because they're supplementary angles. What are we expecting for the other supplementary angles? To have the same thing. So without using a calculator, I can answer these questions. So I can say that sine of 160 is the same as sine of 20. How about cosine of 160? It's going to be negative of 0.997. And how about tangent of 160? So if we're looking at supplementary angles, so angles that add to 180, their ratios, so look at this. This is the easiest to compare because they're right on top of each other, right? So 88 and 92, they add up to 180, right? So they're supplementary angles. We know that. We understand that. If you look at the sine ratio, it's exactly the same. So sine of 88 is equal to sine of 92. Okay? Cosine of 88 is equal to the negative of cosine 92. So they're equal to each other, but one is positive, the other one is negative. So which angle is giving you the positive ratio, the acute or the obtuse? The acute angles, so all of these angles, you guys agree with me that all of these angles are acute angles? Okay, so you see that the acute angles, they're giving you positive for all ratios, no? Good. How about the obtuse angles? Are they giving you positive for all three? No. They're giving you positive only for the sine. And then negative for cosine and tan. Okay? Is this going to always happen? Is it always if it's an acute angle? Remember that the definition of acute is between 0 and 90. If it's an acute angle, are they going to all be positive? Yes. If it's an obtuse angle, is sine going to be positive all the time? Yes. Is cosine and tan are going to be negative all the time for obtuse? Yes. Okay? So you're going to see this as a trend, right? It's going to happen. Remember, acute is between 0 and 90. Obtuse is between 90 and 180. Okay? So if I give you ratio of one of the angle and I give you its supplementary obtuse angle, then you should be able to find the ratio without using a calculator. Because they're the same, except they're negative for cosine, negative for tan. Okay? So let's do a little bit more kind of investigation, or let's try some things. Okay? So supplementary angles are two angles whose sum is 180. So remember this word, supplementary. So if I use my calculator and I find angle which is 56, I find sine 56. What do I get for sine 56? Okay. What do I get for cosine 56? And then tan 56 is at 1.4826. Now what's the obtuse supplementary angle for 56? How do you find the obtuse supplementary angle? Okay, so if I do 180 minus 56, what do I get? 124. Okay, so this is my supplementary obtuse angle. Supplementary means they add to 180. Obtuse means it's greater than 90. You don't have your notes. She gave them to you. Where are they? It's not given. All right, so if I'm looking at sine 124 without using a calculator, what would it be? Sine?
No, positive.
Sine is going to be the same. Sine of 120, don't use a calculator, right? If we've already used the calculator for 56, right? So if I'm going to write the sine of 124, it's going to be exactly the same thing as sine 56. Okay? How about cosine 124? So it's going to be the same but with a negative number, negative sign. How about tan 124? Same as the tan 56, but it's going to be negative. Okay? So do you get the connection between the two? All right. Can you reduce the volume a little bit? Okay. So on the calculator, you're going to do sine 130. Okay. Cosine 130. Four two. And tan 130. One eight. So if I'm going to find my supplementary acute angle, what do I do? So 180 minus 130, which is 50. I don't even have to do a lot of work here because I've already found my answer. However, for the 50, because it's acute, all sine, cosine, and tan are going to be positive. So they're going to be the same answer, but positive for all ratios. Okay? So what we're going to do tomorrow, we're going to explore why is that? Why is it positive if it's in the acute angle, and why is it negative if we are in if we have an obtuse angle? Okay. So we've already discussed most of this, but we'll talk about them, and then we'll copy the answer. So which pairs of angles in the table from question number 1 are supplementary angles? So what did we say? 20 and 160. 41 and 139. 88 and 92. Okay? Guys, vocabulary is very important here. So you understand what acute mean. You understand what obtuse mean. You understand what supplementary angles mean. Right? I want to see everyone nodding their head, saying yes. Good. All right. So, what did you notice was the same about the trigonometric ratios of the supplementary angles? They have the same values? Okay. But what's the same? So we're going to talk about what's the same.
Acute angles are always positive.
All the acute ratios are positive? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Do you guys agree? So if we go back here, oops, not this. I meant this. So if I look here, all the ratios for the acute angle were positive, yes? Yes. Good. Okay. And we've noticed that the sign of the acute and the sign for the supplementary obtuse angle, they're the same, the sign ratio, right? We've noticed that if I go back here, okay, the sign of 88 and the sign of 92 is the same, exactly the same. The sign of 41 and the sign of 139, they're exactly the same. Sign of 20 and sign of 160 is exactly the same, right? No changes, not with the number and not with the sign. Okay? So the sign ratio for supplementary acute and obtuse angles are the same. What did you notice was different about the trig ratios of the supplementary angles? What was different?
Cosine and sine.
So the cosine and tangent are what for the acute? For the acute.
Yeah, positive.
Positive.
And negative for the obtuse.
Yes. And then we can say that tan and cosine ratios in supplementary angles, they are the same but different signs, right? So tan and cos ratios for supplementary angles are the same only the obtuse angles is negative. Are we okay with this? Okay, so the key concept of this lesson is we learned that sine ratios are positive for which one? Both. So sine ratios are positive for both acute and obtuse angles. So both acute and obtuse supplementary angles are positive for cosine. We learned that acute angles are positive give you positive cosine, while obtuse angles give you negative cosine. For tan, same thing as cosine. So acute angles give you a positive ratio, while obtuse angles give you a negative ratio. Are we okay with that? So I'm going to give you a question, okay? And you're going to tell me if your answer is going to be, if your angle should be obtuse, acute, or could be both. Yes?
Can you just higher it up to number 4, please? Thank you.
So here's a question. If I have cosine angle theta equals to 0.731. Can you tell me if angle theta is obtuse or acute? It's acute. Why? Because cosine is positive, right? So I know that angle theta is acute because cos is positive, right? Yes? Good. Because remember, cosine is positive for only acute angles. How about this? Is angle theta acute or is angle theta obtuse? And why is that? Because the tan ratio is negative. That should be obtuse. Okay. How about this? Angle theta positive or angle theta is negative?
Positive or acute.
Sorry, angle theta is acute or angle theta is obtuse?
It can be acute or
It could be either. So how many answers would I have for this? 2. Okay, so for this one, theta could be either obtuse or acute. Because remember that sine is positive for both angles. So if I'm going to ask you to find angle theta here for me, what would you do? How would you find angle theta for me? How do you find an angle from a sine ratio? So if you want to find angle theta here, what do you do? Sine inverse. Okay, so do sine inverse of 0.539. What do you get?
thirty-two,
33
33.
degrees. Okay. Is that the only answer that you can get?
No.
What is your second answer? Sine is positive here. How? So you found one of the angles, right? We've done this before. It's not new. Doing sine inverse is not new to you, is it? No. So that's fine. But in this case, I know I have to have two answers. I have to have the acute and the supplementary obtuse. How can I find the supplementary obtuse angle?
180 minus 120.
So one of the answers is this, or, right, I have two answers here, or the 180 minus 33, which is 147. So here are my two answers, right? You told me either. You told me it's going to be either obtuse or acute. And here are they. Okay? So if you actually, on the calculator, if you do sine 147, what are you going to get?
0.5.
right? Well, again, because we had to round this up, so this rounds a little bit. That's fine. Do we understand the idea of it? Okay, we're going to talk more about this. But when I ask you the question, if I give you sine theta equals to whatever answer, and I ask you, is it obtuse, acute, or either, you're going to have to answer me with either. And if I ask you to find angle theta, I'm looking for both answers. Okay? Do we understand that? All right. So get ready for your quiz. I'll bring it